So the first thing that I want to ask you, Carrie, is tell us about your journey. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got here.
All right. So, Carrie Richardson, I am currently the executive director of Leadership Springfield, and we are a small nonprofit. We've been around in the community for almost 40 years now, and I've been in the executive director role for 5 years. Prior to that, I grew up in the St. Louis area. I moved to Springfield to go to Drury. Ended up meeting my husband in the community and got married, and he's from Republic, so we stayed in the area. And so I have been in Springfield for longer than I've been in the Springfield area, longer than I've been anywhere else. And I worked for a nonprofit DCO doing grant writing and development work and marketing. And then I worked for over a decade in healthcare administration as a chief operating officer for a tri-state health system. And so my background is a lot of like business operations, entrepreneurship, kind of running a company and supporting the efforts of operations within a company. And so I got the opportunity to come on board at Leadership Springfield as the executive director during a really pivotal time. And so during that really pivotal time in our organization, I was able to kind of take on an organization that was, 30 plus years old, but was kind of starting chapter 2. And it really was like a 30-year-old startup. And so I was able to take that organization from being an affiliate partner of our local chamber to fully independent with staff and grow. So my background is some nonprofit, some business, some operations. And I would say overall, I am a strategic thinker that loves executing. So I love taking the big and paring it down to how can we like get actionable, measurable things happening and get it done. That's me.
Very cool. Well, so fun. There are two fun facts in there. First of all, I also grew up in the St. Louis area. So I have to ask you, where'd you go to high school?
I knew that was coming, right?
You knew it. You knew it.
I know, and I say St. Louis area, but I'm actually from St. Charles County, and I went to.
Oh, okay. So I went to high school in Chesterfield. So just over the river from you. Yep. But yeah, we St. Louisans, we're like, that's St. Charles,
Yep.
And then the other fun thing is that my husband, he's from the Springfield area. He was born in Mount Vernon, but he lived for a time in Republic. So you and I have that in common. We both have spouses that have lived in the Republic area.
Yes, and we're in Republic now still. So we, my husband and I have 3 boys. We live in Republic. We live on a small hobby farm. We've got goats and ducks and chickens. And I am the epitome of a suburban city girl who never wanted to move to the country, who now lives on a farm. So that's my personal life summed up.
I love that so much. I have a weird fascination with goats, actually. My husband, someday we're going to own goats. And my husband is he's bummed out about it. He's like, you've never had a goat. They destroy everything. And I'm like, I don't care. I want one. I want two because you can't have one. You got to have 2. So it's a whole thing. Like people buy me goat stuff for my birthday and things like that. It's odd. Well, that is really, really cool. So talk to us about what are some of the challenges you have experienced as a leader, as an entrepreneur along the way? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest challenges I've faced have been learning to understand myself, learning to understand my strengths and how I kind of fit into the picture of whatever environment that I'm in. And so for a long time, I think I felt that some of my strengths were actually weaknesses, and I really had to learn how to dial up those strengths, dial down those strengths for certain situations, and understand the impact that I could have in a really positive way if I could kind of harness that, power of my strengths. I think so many times we walk into a situation and say, like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And I really learned over the course of my career through a lot of challenges that, understanding the parts about me that are assets to an organization and whatever the situation or project may be is so important. And then learning how to take those assets and really harness them in the right way. And like I said, that concept of like dialing up or dialing down things that I know can be strengths, but can also be frustrating to people. I mean, I can be a workaholic and I can be really intense, and I'm a really positive person, but I have really high expectations. And all of those things are great things in and of themselves, but sometimes, they can be challenging in a particular situation or team. And so I think learning more about myself and how to lead has been the biggest challenge. And I don't think you ever, as a person, as a leader, I don't think you ever grow out of that challenge. I think it's like a continual learning process.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's evolution. It never really stops, and there's no real end destination, but you're going to see incremental growth as you move along. So talk to us about some of the ways you said that over the course of time throughout your career, you have kind of learned how to channel into yourself and find the things that are strengths and find the things that are flip sides of the coin. What are some ways that so something that you learned, but then what are some ways that you changed? So I'm trying to like figure out how to.
Oh, I have an answer. You're good.
Okay,
I can share, and then if you want me to clarify,
yeah, no, that's great.
So I am a perfectionist, and I am a workaholic, and all the things that we say, we strive not to be. And I guess I should say maybe a recovering perfectionist. I think I have always prided myself on seeing success as things that I could check off a list. So I'm a really productive person. I want to get things done. And I think especially in the last 15 years, I have learned, and maybe the last 10, I have learned that understanding more about myself and learning is more important than sometimes checking something off a list and getting it done. And so I think, like, to scope out, what I have learned is getting something done is important, but learning along the way is also equally important. And I've seen that reflected in how I approach my work, reflected in how I work with teams, reflected even in my parenting. I have a tendency to attack what I'm doing with a lot of energy and passion, and that's great. But that realization has helped me learn to pause, learn to reflect, learn to ask questions, learn to consider others and the situation that I'm walking into. That pause of, okay, what am I getting into? What is the whole scope of what we're looking at? How can I best show up? Has been really valuable for me, instead of just, I'm going to attack this because it's a goal and something in front of me that, I want to accomplish, or, I want to achieve, or I want to knock off my list. And so I think that pause has been helpful. I've also seen some aspects of just my workflow and work life that I've recognized that a lifetime of kind of working in that like attack mode, and I'm going to jump in, I'm going to be super passionate about everything I'm doing and lots of energy poured into everything, there's a risk of burnout, and I've been there too. And I feel like I'm on the other side of that life now, where I'm recognizing and understanding my limits. I've got tools in place to help me, whether that's, and it is for me, going to therapy, scheduling massages for myself, making sure I've got books checked out of the library, so I'm not just opening up my laptop and working all the time, just like practical things, but also big life things, getting 10 minutes of sunshine outside a day, just some really basic things that are unique to me that I need to help, my mental health, but just stopping myself from being consumed by work and tasks, and recognizing, I hate the word balance, but recognizing that there's a world outside of work that is just as fulfilling and important to me and my mental health.
Yeah. Well, you said a lot of really interesting things in there. So I have like 3 points that I want to drill down on. But first things first, the first one that I want to drill down on, you mentioned being a parent. And I think it is not any great secret that a lot of women are parents, and a lot of women tend to act as the primary caregivers within their homes, even in two-parent households. And that's like a whole soapbox that we can talk about another time. But the question that I want to ask you, you said that the things that you learn in your career, you also apply them in your parenting, and that there are ways. So talk to us a little bit about that. How do you balance being both a mother and an entrepreneur and a spouse and like all of those things? How has your working life affected your home life, your parent life, and how do you show up for your kids differently because you're a leader?
Oh my gosh, this is like the $1,000,000 question that I feel like we had a real answer to. We would solve all the world's,
Right?
challenges.
Well, and that's
So,
that's the thing. It is totally okay. It is a valid thing to say, I don't know.
well, so I mean, I have learned some things and I'll share those, but I definitely don't have it figured out. I would say that parenting is one of the biggest mirrors that I think exists. So being a parent allows you, I think, to see yourself reflected either in the behavior of your kids or your patterns kind of magnified to an extreme. And I do think there's some self-reflection as a parent of what am I doing now and what's that going to look like 18 years from now or 10 years from now or 5 years from now. And so
Yeah.
that
Like
that
if I choose not to intervene right now and say the thing, it might be easier in the moment, but am I setting my child up for a lack of success later and not teaching the lesson consistently, right?
Yes, and I have 3 boys, and one of my kids is very driven and I can see clearly a path where he would be a workaholic like me, and I want more for him, right? Like I'm also thinking, okay, he's got some of my my tendencies, and so how can I help equip him? Because right now I am modeling what I do not want him to do. So that's not a great thing. So to answer your question, I would say what I have learned is frankly that balance is unattainable. And I don't look for it. I don't seek it. I don't think I'm ever going to find it. And what I have realized is that for me, I have to push out of my head the concept of balance and I have to focus on being present. And so that means for me personally, I want to be present at work and I want to be present with my family and with my kids. And so I believe that I can, by making choices, whatever those choices are in the day to day, make choices that allow me to be present in the areas that really matter. That also allows me to be present with friends when I want to be, right? That allows me to be present with family, extended family, present on vacation and enjoying the moment and not worried about other things. But it also, for me, allows me to be present and focused when I'm at work. So yes, there's always wearing all the hats simultaneously all at the same time. And those times are definitely stressful. And it's a constant thing that I work on. But for me, anytime I start getting overwhelmed by feeling out of balance or like I have too many balls in the air or I'm wearing too many hats or it's too much and the weight is too much, which it is almost every day, I pause and remind myself, can I be present in this moment with my family? And if the answer is no, then usually to me, that's a red flag. That's a red flag that something's not right at work, that maybe I have, a challenge that I need to solve or a work capacity issue. If I can't be present at work, then that's a challenge too. And that's a good sign for me that I need to do a better job maybe on Sunday night before I go into my week of managing my week, managing my days, making a plan so that I can be more present at work. So to me, it's kind of a good gauge. I can say, am I present? Can I be present in this moment? Because balance is elusive and I don't know how to find it.
Well, I love that. And I love that honesty because I think there's a saying out there and it says something to the effect of women can have it all, but we can't necessarily have it all at the same time. And I think that that's kind of what that's getting at. Like you're never going to be fully balanced in life. You're always you're going to have work demands that take a little bit more of your time. You're going to have family demands that take a little bit more of your time. But the point is, and I think you just hit it on the head, it's that being present piece, like even understanding that we're trying for equilibrium that we'll never have. At the very least, as long as I'm looking around and taking stock of the moment and really understanding where I'm at and why I'm where I'm at, that's really important. Well, so something else interesting that you talked about, and I imagine that this is something you have to think about a lot because you're a perfectionist and it sounds like you're a pretty driven, ambitious individual, but you mentioned burnout. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that because I know that so many women experience burnout and we're not taught those healthy coping mechanisms when we're in school. Like nobody pulls us aside and says, hey, ladies, you're going to be responsible for managing the whole world. You're not going to get enough credit for it. And you're not going to get paid enough for it, but we're going to ask you to do it. Now, here's what you do when it all gets to be too much. Nobody does that for us. And that bums me out. Again, conversation for another time. But talk to us about how you mentioned a few things. You make sure that you have books and you might book a massage or something like that. But what are some really, really meaningful ways that event attendees could easily implement self-care into their lives? How can we avoid burnout?
Such a great question. I wish that I had learned this 10 years ago, honestly. Number one, I made a career change. So for me, I made a career change where I was not traveling 3 days a week across multiple states. That to me was a big one. So self-reflection and evaluation of what's your situation and evaluating, is there a change you need to make? Can you make that change? And putting in steps to make that change. Number two, find a good therapist. And I would say that the pandemic prompted this for me, and I wish that I had been going for years. There are some great online resources if you can't, go see someone in person. But I think that regularly having someone to help give you ideas for coping skills and help talk through challenging situations can really help avoid burnout and can help you recognize what are the signs of burnout before you're completely burnt out. So that to me is really important. Number three, much more practical. I feel like those are basically, I said, what can you do? Well, evaluate your whole life, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
Number
Change
two,
everything and then lay everything bare.
I'm not saying change everything, but evaluate what you're doing. Number two, see a therapist. Number three, this is silly, but find what replenishes you or rejuvenates you. For me personally, it's time outside in the sunshine, time to read because I personally love reading, and time to be active, whatever that is. Maybe that's going on a walk with my kids. Maybe that's, riding the exercise bike or doing a HIIT workout or, going to the gym. So it can be different, hot yoga, whatever. It can be different for other, depending on what you need. But I do think moving our body gets us out of our headspace. I really have seen that to be true. So in some way, get out of your head and do something, active. And then I would say, surround yourself with people who are willing to speak love and kindness and truth into your life when you are veering toward the edge of burnout. And I have a really close group of friends who will say, Carrie, you've used the word busy 10 times to describe your week. How are you doing? Right? Or they'll say, that sounds like a lot. And they just do a check-in with me. And it's very kind and nothing out of the ordinary. To be honest, it's in, casual conversation, but it allows me to be fully transparent to my close core tribe, my group. And then at the same time, that allows me to have that relationship with them too. So surround yourself with at least one person who's willing to say like, hey, pause. I think maybe this is a hard week, or a hard month or a hard year. And surrounding yourself with that person can really be tremendously helpful.
Yeah. Well, that was a brilliant segue, and I'm super excited. Hey, score team who may listen to this later, I didn't even tell her to do this. She just kind of alley-ooped me right into my next question, and that was going to be, why do you think that it's important to convene groups of women?
I absolutely think it's important to convene groups of women because we need not just support and encouragement for each other, but we need transparency and vulnerability and honesty about what we're going through. It is never more apparent to me than it has been since the pandemic how many roles that we wear, play, hats that we, whatever you want to say, however you want to call
I'm
that.
saying.
Yes, it's never been more transparent to me, all of the roles that we assume as women, whether those are asked of us or assumed of us, or we willingly take them on. Many of the roles that I have, I willingly take on and love, but the weight of all of them together is so hard some days. And so I think having women that you can surround yourself with to be encouraging, uplifting, and transparent and vulnerable with makes all the difference, both for your mental health and also for your quality of life. Surrounding myself with women who are supportive and encouraging and who do life with me has been tremendously beneficial. And I am grateful for them every day. And my hope is that you can find your people, or one person that you can connect with.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it's so important to find people, and not for me, it's not even necessarily women, but it's definitely people with whom I have shared experience. And I mean, my organization has 6.5 thousand members.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, most of them are women. So I am surrounded by women all day. I think about women all day. I talk about women all day. And so I absolutely believe in the power of convening women, all about building networks and stuff like that. But that being said, like sometimes I'm just like, hey, you and I have shared experience. There is commonality between us. Let's just talk. Let's tell war stories. Have a drink.
Well, yeah. And I would just add on to that. I think so many times as women, we overcomplicate things. Like, I don't have time for, a new friendship, or I don't have time to add one more relationship to my life. And what I've seen, so just at the very basic level, find one thing that you have in common with someone and make that connection. It doesn't have to be the most deep, meaningful relationship of your entire life, but it can be a connection that adds value to you and adds value to them, right? That's what it's all about, making those mutual connections that add value to our lives. And ultimately, that makes us better in all of the roles that we have, in all of the hats that we wear, including at work. So I think overall, finding that area of common ground, what do we have in common, whether that's a shared experience or, an industry that's similar, or, something in our family or passion, or, anything that we can do or that we do in our lives, that we can find that connection. I think looking for those connections, recognizing them, calling them out, and making those connections with people can be so valuable.
Absolutely. Well, so talk to us. I'm gonna transition. We're gonna talk a little bit about the conference now, and I know we haven't had it yet, but my hope is that you have an idea as to why you signed up. Like, yes, I raised my hand. I really want to take part in this. I want to be a thought leader in this space. Why did you sign up to take part in the conference?
I'm so excited about being a part of this conference because I think there is tremendous value in getting women together and sharing about our unique experiences and learning from each other. And I think not only the connections that we can make, but how we can be inspired by each other, motivated by each other, and how we can learn from each other is what I'm looking forward to most.
Okay. And so you and I talked a little bit in pre-show prep about the fact that we're each going to have some kind of intimate chat sessions with some of the attendees, those who choose to come hang out with us, and that's great. I'm super looking forward to it. That's actually where I shine, where I'm just like talking to people, not talking at people, but talking to them and talking with them. So talk to us a little bit. I know that I believe that these sessions are going to be fairly unstructured, but what are you hoping that attendees walk away from if they choose to come to your session? What overall messaging, what overall vibe are you going to be offering up? How do you want people to feel when they walk away from talking to you?
I hope that if and when people come to my session, that we can have a really vulnerable and honest conversation about the hats that we wear, the roles that we play in our lives, and how to develop skills and tools to be the best in those ways, without sacrificing our mental health. And that is a careful and delicate, way to step. But I hope people leave encouraged and inspired that they can be present in the areas of their life that matter without sacrificing their mental health or the enjoyment out of what they do.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like you've pretty much answered all of my questions. I'm trying to think, is there anything that you would want event attendees to know? And that could be about you, that could be about your business, that could be about the conference in general. Is there anything that I'm missing that you want us to pop out there?
I think when Tim asked me, I think I can say one thing in case I'm trying to think of like when he originally asked me.
I may not use it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm looking forward to sharing about my own organization's journey. So the concept of, being in the entrepreneurship world and understanding business operations and the difficult work of being in the weeds with being in leadership in any organization is challenging. And I'm looking forward to sharing more about that with individuals from the business community who attend the conference, as well as kind of unpacking how we can be the best leaders for the companies that we're blessed to work with.
Okay, one final thought. What do you love about women entrepreneurs?
The thing I love most about women entrepreneurs is that we are used to wearing all of the hats and doing all of the things. And so I think sometimes the fear or intimidation of trying something new, a lot of women have to jump into things all the time that they're taking on and roles they're taking on that they have to do. And so I love the fact that we are able to, as women, juggle a lot of things at once. And I think that is a really important skill in entrepreneurship and in leadership in general.
Okay. What is a piece of advice that you wish someone had told? I told Francine this, and I'm going to just tell you this. Like, I know that some of my questions are kind of getting at the same stuff, but I'm just trying to approach.
You're fine.
I'm trying to get different forms of answers because I'm not going to know which one I like until I go back to edit it. So the question is, what is one piece of advice that either you actually? I'm going to ask you twice. What is one piece of advice that you heard along your journey that was really profoundly impactful for you and helped you? And then the second question is, if you could give advice to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself? So advice that you heard from someone else that was meaningful, advice that you would give yourself that could be meaningful.
Advice that I was given that was really meaningful to me was people are more important than process. And as a person that loves getting stuff done and loves tackling projects and work and, is that like I have a drive to be productive, pausing and understanding that the people relationships are the most valuable of everything that we do was a really valuable thing for me in my career. And I think about it every single day. Piece of advice that I wish or that I would give to someone else would be slow down. Slow down and enjoy what's in front of you. Be present with the life that you have and enjoy it, because we can waste a lot of energy racing in a direction that we're not mentally even present with. And I think that we enjoy it so much more when we can understand what's in front of us and actually enjoy the life that we've created.
Yeah. And final question, what are some ways that you are planning on enjoying your life coming up?
Oh, gosh.
See, I'm
giving this advice to someone
who have an answer.
Okay. ways that
That's a
I
problem.
I know, right? See, I told you I'm not. I haven't. This is like the blooper reel. I love it. I haven't mastered this. Ways that I am planning on enjoying the life that I've built. Even though I am not what I would call a country girl, and I do not love the farming aspects of where I
No,
live.
you're fine.
I know. I I love our property and spending time outside in the sunshine with my family on our land is one of my favorite things in the world. And so I enjoy the ways that I plan on enjoying my life are kind of extremes, like with my family on the farm, away from the noise of the world, and then also on a beach with a book completely by myself in the sunshine. There's some similarities there. I like sunshine, obviously. Other things, vacations, and getting a lot of really awesome work done at my job. I love my work. I love what we do. I love my team, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy, the fruits of our hard labor. And I think that's okay. And I think that we have a lot of great things ahead, and I'm looking forward to it.
I love that. And I especially love that, like, you presented two dreams, and in one of them, everyone you love was there. And in another one, no one was there.
Yes.
Like, I feel that because, like, so I don't actually have kids, but I come home and I'm like, I love you, husband and dog, but I need you to stay over there and not speak to me for a few hours.
About a year and a half ago, I turned 40, and when my husband asked me like what I wanted to do, I said, I don't want to party. I don't want any fanfare. I said, if I'll be honest, what I really want is to be next to the ocean with a good book in the sunshine and not responsible for anything or anyone at all for multiple days. In my mind, that's the idea of a dream. And he made it happen. Like I had that, and I'm so grateful for that. But like, no responsibility, no decision making, escaping into a great book with sunshine and waves at my feet. That's bliss.
Yeah. Whenever I travel somewhere fun for like a speaking engagement or something like that, I always tack on a couple of extra days, and it's like, I love my husband. Probably, it feels like I love my husband more than anybody else on the planet loves anybody. But that being said, I'm just like, look, I'm actually totally fine that you're not here. Because sometimes they'll be like, do you want me to come join you? And I'm like, no, I really don't.
I'm
good. It's not that I don't love you. It's that I, as a woman, like to feel powerful and confident navigating new spaces and places. And like,
I love that.
Really important to me. Like, I like to travel, not all the time, but I like to travel alone from time to time, because I'm just
cool.
I need to know that I can still do this.
Yeah.
Right. That I can still, like, I know that I have him, and he is like, he's in my corner 100%, but like, sometimes I want to know that I can do things by myself.
Love it.
And then sometimes it's just a matter of like, I want to do what I want to do whenever I want to do it. And I don't want anybody else to even enter the picture, and, call that selfish, but it's like, I live my life for other people 98% of the time. This 2% I'm going to take for myself unapologetically.
Love
it is mine. You cannot have it.
Love it.